All right, folks, doing the second video today. First one was on a Work Pro $20 multi-tool from Amazon. And is that worth buying over the $250 Leatherman Arc? If you want to know, go check out the other video. Go look at my other videos dropping today. You might be surprised at the answer. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we got watches. Watch. It's a GShock, relatively new model. I think it was introduced within the last year or so. Or maybe earlier this year, late last year. I don't know. It's not been around long. And it's a nice one. Hey, guys, let's not do that. I got my Blue Pitty and my Golden Retriever in here, so we'll see if they start fighting. Well, they don't really fight. Neither of them is aggressive, not like Max was. So anyway, let's get into this. What I like, what I don't like. Let's see what that looks like. So this model is the GA. So Georgia Alpha GA010-1A. Comes in a few variants. We'll talk about those. What this is a new analog digital. And there's the GA and then there's the GD. Now, the GD I've done a review on, and I like that one a lot actually. But I ended up giving that to one of my coworkers who's a big guy and needed a big kind of beefy watch for his wrists. And so I gave that to Dustin. And he's now enjoying that one. And then I went and said, you know what, let me go try the analog digital one, because that kind of gives you some additional design elements, although it is a little bit bigger and bulkier. We'll go over the specs in a moment. But this has got feels like a newer kind of rubber. It's not as hard and plasticky. It's still plasticky, but it's a little more soft. It's definitely a nicer rubber than some of the other ones that I've had. So anyway, you open the box, it's your basic box. You got your warranty card for GShock. You've got your instruction manual, which is like ridiculous. This is like War and Peace because it's got, 30 languages and all that stuff. The module on this one is 5735. So if you need to download the manual, you need to know the module number, 5735. I'll give you programming instructions. There's probably a QR code in there somewhere. You can just scan that. So, all right, so let's go and talk about this. And I'll try to hold it still for some shots so you can really see what's going on here. But what you've got, let's go over the specs first. So the first thing about this, which is nice, is not only has it got the new, softer, more premium feeling plastic, you got your 200-meter water resistance. You got your super LEDs, they call it, which are really nice and bright. You've got lume on the indexes and on the hands, which you don't always get on G-Shocks. You get them on one or the other. So that is really nice to be able to see that lume and stuff like that in the dark. But when it's truly dark, you got a button. It's on for 1.5 seconds, but we'll go into settings and change that to 3 seconds. It is a world timer. It has a 10-year battery. So I'm kind of torn on that piece because it would have been nice to have tough solar. This watch retails at least MSRP on Casio's website for $120. However, you can get this on Amazon, and I will put a link up top, $85.24. And then you get 2-day shipping, and so with sales tax, it's like $87 or $88. So $88 to your door. Hell of a bargain for a 200-meter watch that you can use for diving, everything. It's nice and tough. It's beefy. You don't have to worry about scratching the shit out of it on sand like you do on your nicer metal watches, because even though you're like, oh, stainless steel, it's not hardened. Stainless steel watches scratch really easily unless they're hardened steel. And typically they're not, because to harden the steel, costs more. Then it costs way more to machine hardened steel and polish it and all that stuff. If you do all the cutting and stuff first, then when you harden it, because of that extreme heat and then quenching, you very often warp. And then your surfaces may not be flat, and your water resistance may. Like if you ever watch Forged in Fire, you see them quenching the blade, and that makes it hard so that it'll hold an edge more than 30 seconds. But a lot of times then the blade goes and warps, and then they're having to fix it and tweak it and all that. So you don't typically find hardened stainless steel watches. I'm sure some boutique brand might do that for like really crazy hard use. But they're made tough. Remember, if you make it hard so that it doesn't scratch as easily, kind of like glass, if you have sapphire, it doesn't scratch easy at all. But it does make it brittle, just like knife blades. You can get a super high Rockwell hardness score, but you drop the blade on the ground and it shatters, or you're doing something with it and you chip the edge, as opposed to having a slightly softer blade that's hard but not as hard, giggity. And, you have to sharpen it a little more, but at least the blade's going to last you longer. It's going to be durable. It's not going to break on you, typically. So everything's a trade-off. So I like a watch like this because you're not going to scratch the hell out of it on sand or a little bit of dirt or grit. You're like, oh, I got some dirt on there, and you go to rub it off, and now you got these fine little scratches because you didn't realize it was like a really light powdery dust, and that silica is hard, and it just scratches up that mirror polish, and now you're like, great, now I got to try to polish it or get it out, or you got to look at the scratch every day. Then it annoys you because you spend $2,000 on a watch and it's scratched the first week. So watch like this, you don't have to. It's $85. Like it's ridiculously cheap and good. So what we have here is, let's go into, let me find the specs. So basic information. So the case size is 51.9 millimeters. It's a big boy. It's a GShock. It's got lots of extra padding and plastic and carbon guard and all that stuff. It's 55.1 lug to lug. It is 17.5 millimeters deep. It's a big watch. It is very big. But it only weighs 67 grams. This thing is light. It is made of bio-based carbon, bio-based resin. Yeah, that's plastic. But it sounds nicer, doesn't it? You got your shock resistance. You got your carbon core guard structure, which is some kind of shock absorbing stuff they got built in. You've got your 200-meter water resistance. And these tend to actually test higher than that. That's what's just beautiful about Casio. It's kind of like BMW on their M cars. Like they'll say, oh, it's 500 horsepower, but most people are getting over that at the wheel on a dyno. They tend to underreport the numbers. Casio kind of does the same thing. It says 200, they mean it, but it'll probably go deeper than that. You get approximately 10 years. Now that matters on how much you're playing with it and how often you use the light and all that stuff. But under normal usage, being optimistic, you got a CR2025 battery, which should last you 10 years. Now, would I prefer to have solar? Yeah. But this kind of splits the difference. It keeps the price at well under $100. You have to worry about your battery every decade. And it's a $3 or $4 battery, so you can go get a battery at Kroger or Publix. I mean, you can get them anywhere. Go to CVS or Amazon. I do like that it has mineral glass. So on this, it's not the kind of normal plastic, so it's one step down from sapphire. What I like about that is that it will give you more scratch resistance than a lot of the plastic ones you get on some of the Casio watches. But it's meant to take a hit, so it won't shatter or crack as easy. So again, a little bit of a trade-off. You're not quite as scratch resistant as sapphire, but even though you've got some very nice guards here so that the glass never sits, it's never touching anything, you've got a good 1.5 to 2 millimeter buffer of shock absorbing plastic all the way around. You're going to be fine. This is going to be a very durable watch. So you've got world time. You got 48 different time zones. It's all coordinated with universal time. You have your automatic daylight savings time you can turn on and off. You got your home city world time or city swapping, one-touch UTZ time zone access. You got countdown timers. You have a stopwatch. You can do multiple split times. You have 5 daily alarms. You can have it beep at the top of the hour so you know, okay, it just hit the top of the hour. The stopwatch goes down to 1/100th of a second. You've got Lume. They're using Neo Bright. You got Super Illuminator on the light itself. You can set the duration from 1.5 to 3 seconds. You can mute it. It's accurate to within 15 seconds plus or minus per month. So that's per month, so 15 seconds times 12. I can't do math in my head today. Let's see. So that would be theoretically within a year times 12 divided by 60. We're looking at plus or minus 3 minutes per year in accuracy. So This doesn't have 6-band radio, that kind of stuff. There are other G-Shocks you can get that are solar and that, but you're going to pay more money for those. But for under the $100 mark, I'm fine with that. Setting the watch is like setting a lot of G-Shocks. You can go ahead here and hold that button, and that lets you in to set your what time zone you want your home to be, whether you want daylight savings times on or off. You can go in and set your 12-hour versus 24-hour, set your seconds, hours, minutes, calendar year, month, date. You got your key, whether you want it to beep when you're going through menus and hitting the stopwatch, or you want it to be muted. You got your light timer. I'm going to set that to 3 seconds. And there you go. Now, another thing that's cool here is you've got analog and digital, and it gives you an ability to make sure that those are in sync. So we're going to hit the adjust button to get out of that. So if we hit that and hold it, and then we hold it a little bit longer. So what it's doing here is that it had already moved it, because when you're using the digital, it moves the hands out of the way so you can see your stopwatch or see what you're doing, which is very clever. But then you can sync that. It's saying, okay, assuming that this was 0000, the actual time on digital, and then you push this button and you can set the hand back. So if your hands ever got out of sync with the digital, you can adjust that. See how that's moving with each click? So you can basically zero that in. You shouldn't have to, but for some reason, I don't know, something got out of sync, the battery ran out, whatever, it lost that little bit of setting. You can go ahead and do that. So why is it? Oh, because it's 11:59. Oh, that's why it was already there. Duh. Anyway, so let's see. Now that you've got your time set, you can go into your mode. So if you got a timer, you can change that and set it to different, intervals to count down. You're taking your COVID test, pregnancy test, whatever, some kind of test. Cooking an egg, who knows, whatever. Go ahead and do that. You got your world time. You can go into different time zones. You got your alarms. You got your stopwatch. And you've got your start. You got your stop. Reset. You got your start. Split. Keep going. Split. You just keep doing that. I don't know how many you got, but you got a bunch of them. Then you hit stop. And then you can go ahead and hit reset. And let's see. Back to the time, date. And then if you want, I think you can, one of these buttons. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. So you don't have to actually fast forward to the stopwatch. So if something comes up and you're like, oh shit, I got to time something. You don't have to anymore on this model go through and get to the stopwatch feature. If something happens and you're like, oh, quick, time that. Boom, just hit the start button and it automatically switches you to. And what's cool is that if it was later in the day and those hands were there, I think when you're using the stopwatch, if you hit the mode button, it'll just move the hands out of the way. It'll keep track of the time. So as soon as you're done and you hit reset, it would move the hands back. I can't show it to you because, well, they're already up there because that's the time of day. But this is a very cool little watch. It doesn't weigh anything. That's the thing. People are like, oh, it's big, it's clunky. Yeah, but anyway, what I'm wearing not my, I don't know if this is my biggest watch or not. My Longines 45 Hydro Conquest is pretty big. But this one is, I think, a 45 mil. This is my Live GX1, which weighs at least double of this. Now, this is a $600 or $650 watch. It's a Swiss chronograph with incredible accuracy, 200-meter water resistance, screw-down crown. So same water resistance as this. This does have sapphire. This also weighs a lot more. You can scratch that metal. You can scratch that metal. The battery on this is not 10 years, and all you get is, date, time, the date down here. You got your time, and you do have your stopwatch. I don't think it does interval timing. This does 1/10 of a second. So if I hit that, is it still counting? Oh, it does. Okay, so that one does interval timing too. Interesting. And then resets. So that's a big watch. This is definitely thicker, but again, you got to have all that protection and stuff in there. This battery will last 2 or 3 years. This is going to be 10 years. So this is a much nicer watch. I love that Panda. I love the 3D dial, but check it out. That's what this one drew to me to this, is that it's similar to the GD010, but you've got a really cool 3D. So you've got these little complications up here are if you have the time, if you're in the timer mode or you got your alarm on, it's kind of hard to see the lettering on there unless you squint, but you can see, what things are turned on at a glance. Over here, I guess you've got your seconds counting. It uses the negative display, so it starts at 60, and then as it ticks them off, so it's not showing how many seconds you have, it's kind of showing how many are left. That's how you know where you're at. So we're at like 25 seconds there, closing in on 30 seconds now. So you get your little second counter there. Let's see. What I like about this is the depth. There's all these different layers in there, and it just gives it a much more premium feel. The softer rubber feels so much better than some of the other G-Shocks I've owned that felt like hard plastic. This feels, it's not soft like silicone, but it's got that buttery, smooth, silicone-y kind of touch on the outside while still being fairly rigid and not all floppy like silicone tends to be. It's a nice upgrade. But if you look, your indexes are floating over. There's distance between the dial and the indexes. They're actually mounted on the outside on that ring, not mounted and fixed to the display, to the actual dial itself. So while I think this is beautiful, this just gives it a whole 3D, almost like holographic kind of look. This is a lot of watch for $88 or whatever shipped to your house. So let's throw this on. I have 7.3 inch wrists. Pops right on. Those things click into place. You can leave it there or go a little further out. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it clicks on the underside, so it kind of keeps it in place. Very nice watch. You beat the shit out of that. It is big, but it's an outdoor sport, military, first responder. You want something that you could see at a glance, something you can see in the dark. There is a setting here. You could turn it on to where it automatically will, when you flip the watch towards you, it'll turn the light on. I don't turn that on just because it does tend, if you're moving around a lot, the light's constantly turning on and off, and you will chew up your battery that much faster. So being that it's right there on the front, it's only there if I need it. If I'm in the dark and I move, it doesn't give away my location because it lights up and I've just identified exactly where I am in the dark. It only pops up if I physically go and boop, hit the button. That is probably one of my favorite G-Shocks. There are some that are a little nicer high-end, and they got altimeters and all kinds of cool shit on them and some nicer materials, but honestly, this feels fantastic. This feels way more premium. I like the fact that they used a metal buckle, not plastic, just that extra bit of security. You don't want your band to be too soft and floppy. And I know some people are like, well, I like it to fold flat. G-Shock does it this way for a reason. Besides the glass, this is the weakest point. Your movement's under there. So it lands on a rock or does something, it transfers that shock for it through more readily. Or I could drop this from the top of a ladder and it's going to hit like this, and it's going to bounce like a spring. That's going to flex automatically, and it may go boing and bounce a couple times, but again, it's plastic, it's light, it doesn't hit with a whole lot of force to begin with, but when it hits that, there's no way for me to hit, dent, or damage the back. May even be less about damaging the internals. If you dented this on a rock or did something, you could pop the corner up a little bit or create a gap, because if you push here, that's, if you dent in here, it's going to want to pull up on the opposite side, over here, and that could create a leak and let water in. So I like that they protect the back like that. And it just goes right on your wrist. You're not sitting there trying to flap it around. It's already lined up right there where you can easily catch it and slap that bad boy on. Fits great. Go lock your keeper into place, slide it in, and boom, Bob's your uncle. I actually had an Uncle Bob. So anyway, there you go. We'll do some quick close-up shots. You can look at it really close. I think this thing is gorgeous. You can get these in different colors. So let's go through that real quick, and then we'll do some real zoom-in shots here. So what you've got is you've got the black one. You've got one that is a coyote tan, which might be nice if you're in a desert environment and you want that more military look. They've got one that is a dark olive drab. And then that one also adds a red highlight on the second counter, which actually is kind of cool, but I just went for black on white. I think that's more classic G-Shock. And then you've got some negative display ones. You've got a black one like this with a negative display. You've got the green, olive green with the negative display. You have now new ones that just came out with gold. You've got an orange one with a negative display. So there's a whole bunch of GA010s. And then there's the digital, the GD010s. So, or maybe it's the GD that has the orange one. I don't think there's an orange one in the GA. I think it's the digital one. So strike that from the record. But this is a great looking watch. I think that is sharp. It looks, one thing you wear GShocks, sometimes they just look like cheap, Walmart watches. And then you got the Casios. There's some of them that you're like, no, that's not your normal Walmart watch. That's a legit tool watch. And it's actually got a really nice design. So I don't know why I just put that on. I wanted to show you some close-up shots. So here you go. Dial. Beautiful. Got your side view, and you got those extra protective mud from the Mudman style buttons. So your buttons are up underneath. This will protect mud and stuff from getting up and crud up in there. Let's go to the other side. Very nice. We got the back, your core guard and all that good information. You got your button right there for your light, which works very well. But it's slightly recessed so you can feel it, but it's not protruding where you're going to bump it all the time. And again, you want to conserve that battery and not give away your location in the dark. So they've made it to where it's very easily accessible, but you're not going to accidentally bump it and turn it on and waste battery or give yourself away. I can't get over how much better that feels than some of my other G-Shocks. It looks the same, but it does not feel the same. It feels slick. It feels plush. It feels like an iPhone band. Not as soft, but there's just something about it that just feels silky. It's actually really, really nice. And then, of course, you got your stainless steel clasp. So there you have it. The GA10, God damn it, the GA010-1A. One of these days I'll get through a video. I just can't do 17 takes because I misspell, I missay something because I'm looking at the screen and I'm reading, I'm thinking about one thing and what I'm saying, but then I read something and you sometimes transpose your words. So I do apologize for that. I just don't have the time to do multiple takes and crazy edits every time I misspeak or use the wrong term or something like that. People can beat me up on it, whatever. It's a verbal typo. We make them all the time. The difference is in normal conversation, you might catch yourself or someone would correct you as opposed to, in video, you might not see it until later when you're watching it and go, damn, I can't believe I said that. But there you have it. GA010-1A. That's the black one. Very cool. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to enjoy this.